As the night settles more deeply around you, there is a quiet sense of being enclosed, not trapped, but held. Nothing in this space feels exposed to anything outside of it. Nothing feels open to interruption. The night forms a boundary without effort, a boundary that does not need to be defended. There is no awareness scanning the edges of this moment, no alertness checking what might enter. The mind does not lean forward anymore. It does not listen for change. This moment does not suggest movement. It does not suggest danger. There is no background tension holding the body upright, no subtle readiness waiting to react. The idea of needing to respond dissolves slowly. Layer by layer, nothing presses against this stillness. Nothing pulls attention outward. The environment feels complete on its own, contained. The mind no longer positions itself as a watcher. No observer remains more. There's no sense of being seen, no sense of being evaluated. The habit of checking whether everything is okay weakens, then fades. There is nothing in this moment that could go wrong. Nothing forming. The night does not hide events behind it. It remains flat, even. The body senses this absence of threat and responds by softening, without instruction. Muscles release effort they were not aware of holding. They let go. There is no need to stay mentally upright, no benefit in remaining aware. Safety does not arrive as a feeling. It arrives as the absence of vigilance. There is no part of the mind standing guard anymore. No internal lookout. Nothing is being monitored. Nothing is being measured. The sense of being on dissolves gradually. Without a clear moment, the night does not demand explanation. It allows quiet to remain undefined. There is no reason to listen closely, no reason to watch. The environment remains steady, predictable. Nothing changes suddenly. Nothing needs to. The mind begins to rest inside this predictability, without questioning it. There is no anticipation of disturbance, no expectation of interruption. Everything feels evenly supported, balanced. The idea of danger becomes abstract, distant. Nothing in this moment carries urgency. Nothing carries importance. The night does not ask for attention. It allows absence. Awareness begins to loosen its hold, because holding is no longer necessary, so there is no command to relax, no signal to let go. Letting go happens anyway, quietly. The sense of responsibility dissolves, even responsibility for awareness. Nothing is required to maintain this calm. It maintains itself. The mind no longer checks whether it is safe. It already is. There is no edge to this moment, no border. The night surrounds everything evenly, without pressure, and the mind begins to sink into that steadiness without noticing. As the night continues to hold everything without effort, the sense of being contained grows quieter, not stronger, just more settled. There is no longer a feeling of being placed inside a moment. The moment feels complete without placement. Nothing presses against the edges of awareness. Nothing asks to be noticed. The mind does not remain alert out of habit anymore. Habit itself begins to loosen. There is no internal posture to maintain, no mental stance to hold. The night does not test stability. It remains stable on its own. There's no reason to keep awareness lightly engaged. No benefit in staying slightly present. Even subtle vigilance fades. Gradually, the body responds to this fading by softening further. Muscles release without being asked. There's no sense of something being held back. No readiness waiting underneath. The mind no longer prepares for interruption. It no longer anticipates. Nothing suggests that attention might be needed. Nothing hints at urgency. The environment feels steady in a way that does not require trust. Trust becomes unnecessary. The idea of safety dissolves into normalcy. It is no longer a concept. There is no part of awareness labeling the moment as calm. Labeling fades. Nothing is being compared to anything else. There is no reference point. The night does not contrast itself against the day. It simply remains. The mind no longer tracks how long this quiet has lasted. Duration loses meaning. There is no effort involved in staying here, no effort involved in drifting. Both actions feel irrelevant and gently disappear. The sense of responsibility dissolves further, even responsibility for rest. Nothing in this moment requires confirmation. Nothing needs agreement. The body remains supported without noticing support. Breathing continues without observation. There is no awareness following the breath, no awareness leaving it. The rhythm exists without reference, untracked. Sound does not call attention to itself. Silence does not stand out. Both blend evenly without contrast. The mind does not reach for clarity. Clarity has no purpose. There is no desire to understand this state. Understanding feels unnecessary. The night does not offer meaning, and meaning is not sought. The idea of being awake softens, then loses shape. The idea of sleeping does the same. Both dissolve together. There is no concern about crossing into sleep, no awareness of transition. The mind does not recognize the moment awareness thins. It simply stops holding shape. Nothing collapses when awareness loosens. Everything remains. The environment does not require perception to exist. It continues quietly. The sense of here dissolves. The sense of there follows. Direction loses relevance. Orientation fades. The night feels evenly spread. Without center, there is no longer a sense of being inside or outside anything. Boundaries soften. The mind no longer returns to check what is happening. It no longer remembers to. Nothing pulls awareness back. Nothing pushes it forward. The state holds itself without effort, without instruction. The quiet does not deepen. It remains. There is no awareness of remaining, no awareness of fading. Everything rests without definition, without edge. The night continues, unchanged. As the night continues to exist without asking anything at all, the sense of effort dissolves even further. Until effort is no longer remembered, there is no awareness holding the moment together anymore. The moment holds itself. Nothing feels supported by attention. Nothing depends on presence. The mind no longer places itself anywhere. Placement becomes unnecessary. There is no inner posture left to maintain. No subtle readiness beneath the surface. The night does not feel quiet in contrast to sound. It feels neutral, unmarked. There is no longer a sense of waiting within the stillness. waiting dissolves completely. The body no longer prepares for rest. It is already resting. Muscles remain released without awareness of release. They do not return to tension. There is no signal to remain aware, no signal to let go. Both signals are gone, without being removed. The mind does not remember what it was attending to. Attention itself has softened. There is no checking of internal state, no checking of external environment. Nothing is being monitored. Nothing is being measured. The idea of safety dissolves into absence. Absence of threat, absence of concern. There is no longer a sense of being protected. Protection is no longer a concept. The night does not surround awareness. Awareness dissolves into the night. There is no separation left between environment and mind, no boundary to notice. Sound exists without location, without distance. Silence exists without depth, without contrast. Neither draws attention, neither requires response. The mind no longer reacts to anything. Reaction dissolves. There is no preference for stillness or movement. Both lose relevance. Time does not pass forward, it does not pause. Time loses its direction, then its meaning. Moments do not connect to each other. They rest separately. There is no sequence forming, no continuity to follow. The sense of identity loosens, then fades. There is no thought forming the idea of I. No center remains, and the mind does not notice this absence. Noticing is gone. There is no awareness of drifting, no awareness of remaining. The difference between being awake and being asleep dissolves. Without crossing, there is no moment of falling asleep, no transition to observe. The mind does not arrive anywhere. It does not leave. Everything rests evenly, without shape. The night does not deepen. It does not change. Nothing reappears to pull attention back. Nothing interrupts. There is no edge to this state, no boundary. The quiet holds everything without effort, without instruction. There is no awareness left to recognize quiet. Quiet simply remains. Nothing asks to be continued. Nothing asks to be completed. The state does not progress. It does not end. Everything rests without definition, without need. The night continues, unchanged. As the night continues without marking time, there is no sense of progression left to follow. Nothing moves forward. Nothing settles backward. The state that remains does not shift. It does not develop. There is no longer a feeling of entering anything or leaving anything behind. The mind no longer recognizes itself as present. Presence dissolves quietly. There is no awareness remaining to notice this dissolution. Noticing fades with it. The idea of being aware loses its edges, then its center. Nothing in this space requires definition. Nothing benefits from clarity. The night does not invite interpretation. It remains uninterpreted. There is no inner structure organizing experience. Structure has dissolved. Thought no longer forms into language. Language fades before forming. There is no sentence completing itself internally. No thought finishing its shape. The mind does not pause between thoughts. There are no thoughts to pause between. Silence does not replace sound. Sound does not interrupt silence. Both exist without contrast. without hierarchy. There is no reason to listen, no reason to stop listening. Listening dissolves without being turned off. The sense of being here fades without moving elsewhere. There is no sense of location remaining, no sense of position. Everything feels evenly spread, without reference. The body remains still without being still. Motion has no relevance. Breathing continues without being followed, without being noticed. There is no awareness tracking rhythm. Rhythm exists without tracking. The night does not deepen. It does not lighten. It remains exactly as it is, unchanging. There is no internal dialogue left to comment, no narration. The mind does not return to check on itself. It does not remember to. Nothing reasserts identity. Nothing recalls intention. The idea of effort no longer exists. Effort dissolves completely. There is no difference between holding and releasing. Both have lost meaning. The mind does not decide to sleep. Decision is gone. Sleep does not arrive. It is already present. There is no moment of crossing into rest, no threshold. The distinction between rest and awareness dissolves. Without event, time no longer flows. It no longer pauses. Time loses relevance, then disappears. Moments do not follow one another. They rest separately. There is no continuity forming, no sequence to follow. The mind no longer recognizes change. Change is no longer registered. Nothing calls attention back. Nothing interrupts. There is no return to awareness, no re-entry. The state does not progress. It does not conclude. There is no awareness of remaining, no awareness of ending. Everything rests evenly, without shape. The night holds everything without effort, without boundary. Nothing requires maintenance. Nothing requires completion. There is no sense of still being here, no sense of having left. Both ideas have dissolved, quietly. The state remains without needing to remain, without instruction. There is no awareness left to recognize the night. The night remains anyway. Nothing needs to happen. Nothing is missing. As the night remains exactly as it is, there is no signal of movement anywhere. Nothing shifts internally. Nothing shifts externally. The state that exists does not change shape. It does not soften or harden. There is no longer a sense of being inside experience. Experience exists without position. The mind does not locate itself. Location has dissolved. There is no awareness standing apart from the moment. No observer remains. Observation itself has faded, without resistance. There is no center from which awareness radiates, no edge where it ends. Everything feels evenly distributed, without focus. The body does not register stillness. Stillness does not need registration. Breathing continues without rhythm being followed, without rhythm being lost. There is no sense of time passing through the body. Time does not pass at all. Moments do not succeed one another. They do not overlap. They remain without order, without sequence. The mind no longer recognizes continuity. Continuity dissolves. There is no thread connecting experience, no narrative forming. Thought does not arise to comment. Commentary has ended. There is no awareness of silence replacing sound. No awareness of sound interrupting silence. Both exist without distinction, without hierarchy. The night does not feel deep or shallow. Depth has no meaning. The sense of being awake does not remain. The sense of being asleep does not appear. Both concepts have dissolved together, without event. There is no moment that could be described as falling asleep. No transition to witness. The mind does not move toward rest. Rest is already present. There is no impulse to stay, no impulse to leave. Both impulses have vanished, without cancellation. Nothing in this state requires acknowledgement. Nothing benefits from recognition. The mind does not remember itself. Memory has softened. There is no internal reference point left, no anchor. The idea of identity loses coherence, then dissolves completely. There is no awareness remaining to notice this loss. Noticing has gone with it. The night does not respond to awareness. It does not require it. There is no contrast between inside and outside. Boundaries have dissolved. Sound exists without direction. Silence exists without absence. Neither calls attention, neither repels it. The state does not progress toward conclusion. It does not move forward. It does not hold itself in place. Holding is unnecessary. Everything rests without instruction, without guidance. The mind does not return to check what is happening. It does not remember to. Nothing pulls awareness back. Nothing interrupts the state. There is no awareness of remaining, no awareness of fading. The quiet does not deepen. It remains evenly quiet. The night does not signal continuation. It simply remains. Nothing is required to maintain this condition. Nothing is missing from it. There is no awareness left to confirm the night. The night exists regardless. Nothing needs to happen. Nothing needs to change. Everything rests, unmarked. As the night continues without any sense of movement, there is nothing approaching this state, nothing leaving it. The condition that remains does not progress. It does not resolve. There is no awareness waiting for completion. Completion has no meaning here. The mind does not recognize the passage of time. Time has dissolved completely. There is no internal signal marking continuation, no marker of duration. Moments do not connect. They do not separate. They exist without relationship, without sequence. The night does not deepen into sleep. Sleep does not replace awareness. Both ideas have already dissolved, without transition. There is no sense of arriving at rest, no arrival to notice. The body remains without effort, supported without awareness. Breathing continues without rhythm being followed, without rhythm being lost. There is no awareness resting on the breath, no awareness drifting away from it. The distinction between sound and silence loses relevance. Both blend evenly. Neither draws attention. Neither requires response. The environment does not feel external. It does not feel internal. That distinction has faded, along with direction. There is no sense of being located anywhere, no sense of position. The mind does not attempt to orient itself. Orientation is unnecessary. There is no impulse to maintain consciousness, no impulse to release it. Both impulses are gone. Without removal, The idea of staying present dissolves. The idea of drifting dissolves with it. Nothing is left to decide. Decision has lost meaning. The state does not conclude. It does not advance. There is no awareness remaining to recognize stillness. Stillness exists anyway, huh? The quiet does not become deeper. It remains evenly quiet. There is no edge where awareness ends, no edge where rest begins. The difference between being and not being has dissolved, without event. Nothing returns to pull attention back. Nothing interrupts. The mind does not remember to return. Memory has softened. There is no internal narration continuing, no commentary. The night does not respond to absence of awareness. It remains unchanged. Nothing requires acknowledgement. Nothing needs to be held. The state sustains itself without effort, without guidance. There is no awareness left to observe continuation. Continuation happens without observation. Nothing marks this as an ending. Nothing marks it as a beginning. Everything rests without reference, without definition. The night continues, unchanged. Nothing needs to happen. Nothing is missing. Everything remains as it is. There's nothing left to notice, nothing left to hold. The sound can remain. You don't have to. Everything is already settling. This is Noxa rest. Rest comes on it.